What's up folks, CrushSG here, and today I'm bringing you what is undoubtedly the most requested video on my channel thus far. While it isn't so much the video that has been requested, it's really the link that is in the description below to my damage calculation spreadsheet. I know, it took a while, but it isn't as easy as it seems to prep a spreadsheet like this for public use. Yes, I have the formulas and the spreadsheets, but the ones you see in my videos were pieced together from a huge disorganized mess with lots of random numbers and lots of tables everywhere. I mean, I'd know how to navigate the mess, of course, but no one else would, basically. Anyway, I finally managed to put most of it into what I feel is a decently usable format by most characters. But I do have to preface this with the fact that this is the first iteration of the only publicly shared damage calculator that I have ever made for any game in my entire life. I wouldn't even consider this a beta version, it's more like an alpha version. There may be errors or mistakes here and there. Of course, I'll try to fix them as we go on with updates. But be kind folks, this is just a fan-made spreadsheet by someone with only basic Excel knowledge. I'm sure there are better ways to spread the sheet, so to speak, but this is what I came up with. The first part of the video will just be the summarized instructions on how to use the spreadsheet, and I'll timestamp it of course so you can come back anytime for instructions or a refresher. After that, I'll do a demo going into all the details using my Razor and Noelle. Oh yeah, as you probably already noticed at the bottom, there is of course a dedicated calculator for Noelle too. Anyway, here's the general overview. As you can see, front and center, do this first before anything else. You need to calculate your character's base attack, enter your character's level, and enter the enemy level. Now the character's base attack is calculated by subtracting your weapon's base attack from your total base attack, which is basically the white stat. There's also a calculator to help you with this in the Tools tab. This needs to be done once for each character unless your character level changes, in which case redo the calculation and update it. Now if you just want a generic calculation, just enter the same enemy level as your character level. Again, you must do these three things for the calculator to function properly. Okay, moving on, we have the instructions, and it's actually pretty simple. You basically enter your attributes in the table to the left, you get the summary of all your stats to the table on your right, and you get your damage in the middle. There are some important notes, however. First, if any attribute doesn't apply to you on the left table, say you don't have any bonus to elemental damage, enter a value of 0 anyway. Not doing so in certain instances could affect the calculator. Next, do not touch or edit the table on the right or the damage values in the center unless you know what you're doing. That is where all the formulas of this spreadsheet are contained, and these values are automatically calculated for you so you don't have to touch these two tables at all. And lastly, everything else you need to know about using the calculator is in the instructions and the notes below. Read them, follow directions, and you should be fine. Okay, that's the basics on the calculator. Now let's look at it in action. We'll do my Razor first because he uses the general calculator for the most part. So we first work out his character base attack using the table in the Tools tab. Just enter the white stat and the weapon base attack, and we have 207. Next, we enter his character level and enemy level, which I'm just going to put both at 80 just for the purpose of this video. And now we get to entering all the other attributes. We have his weapon base attack, that's 510. Now, we have percent attack next, and percent attack can be a little tricky in some cases because some characters, like Fischl, gain percent attack from ascension as well. And percent attack is not shown as a total stat on the attribute screen in-game. So you need to be aware of what ascension bonuses your character has, and you need to account for them. In the Tools section, as you can see, I have two tables to assist with the total percent attack calculation. And of course, if you need to calculate percent defense, you can use the same tables. This one below is the fastest way to calculate it because you only need 3 values. However, this table can only be used if you actually own the items because it relies on values reflected in your in-game attributes screen. If you don't own the items and are simply trying to calculate potential gains, you need to use the table here and enter the percent attack provided by every slot. I have of course included character ascension and the weapon slot as well. Anything that doesn't apply to you, just leave it as 0 of course, because not everyone has say percent attack on every single artifact slot. For my razor, I have all the items that I'm trying to calculate. So first I'll calculate my total flat attack, which I have already done, and then I'll use the quick calculator to calculate my percent attack. And we have 101.8% attack and 339 flat attack. We also have 58.6% crit rate and 151.1% crit damage. Now we come to the skill modifier. This is stated in the skills attributes tab in game. For Razor, we want to calculate his normal attack damage, so what we do is take the average of his 4 hits, in which case this is 143.75%. If you are trying to calculate a skill that is a single hit skill, such as Razor's E for example, then you just enter whatever value is stated in the skill attributes screen. Next we enter the total elemental damage bonus, which in Razor's case is physical damage, and we have 105.8%. And now we have the additional bonuses. Now this part is important, so pay attention. Percent damage to X skill refers to damage increases to specific skills such as normal attacks, charge attacks, elemental skills, or burst skills. You need to add up all the applicable values and enter it here. In my case, I have nothing because I'm using 2-piece gladiators and 2-piece bloodstain. Yes, I know it's not the best gear. I'm working on it. The bosses haven't been kind to me with glad gear drops even at AR50, but that's a story for another day. Next we have the weapon special bonus, percent damage. This refers to percent damage bonuses given by the special bonus on your weapon, such as the 8% on the Skyward Pride or the stacking buff on the Serpent Spine. I have the Serpent Spine on my Razor at the moment, and it gives 30% damage at max stack, so that's what we enter here. And now we have the weapon special bonus to percent attack. Now this is meant for situational attack percent bonuses granted by the weapon's special bonus that are not passively reflected in your attributes screen. Examples would be the 40% attack party buff given by the Wolf's Gravestone, and stacking attack buffs like that on the Prototype Rancor or the White Blind. Now this does not refer to the secondary bonus of your weapon. You should have included that in the percent attack calculation above already. However, this is really just for categorization purposes. If you have already factored in all the percent attack bonuses, including the weapon special bonuses, into your initial percent attack calculation above, then you can leave this as 0. If you don't, you'll be double dipping essentially. Anyway, for my Razor, this value would in fact be 0. And finally, we come to debuffs. You can choose to leave this value at 0 if you don't want to include debuffs in your calculation, but there are basically 2 types of debuffs: resist reduction and defense reduction. I have included a quick reference table below with some of the popular debuffs. If yours isn't listed here, just Google for the values. You then simply add up all the resistance reductions that apply to the skill that you are calculating and enter it here. Likewise, enter the total defense reductions too, if you have any. With my Razor, we have Superconduct for 40% physical reduction and 15% defense reduction from his C4. And there we have it, folks. Non-crit damage, crit damage, and overall average damage per hit. And of course, the table on the right gives you a summary of all your stats. Okay, moving on to the Noelle specific calculator. I have already explained the process with Razor, and it's essentially the same process. You just need to enter a little bit more values, such as your defense stat and your bonus attack from defense granted by your burst skill, and whether you have C6 or not, 50% if yes, 0% if no. Of course, to save time, I've already entered everything, and here we have the damage values both in and out of burst with the summary on the right. Alright folks, before we wrap things up, let's talk about some of the limitations of this calculator. First, it is meant to assist you in finding gear upgrades or optimizing your damage output by providing workable baseline values to compare different artifacts and different weapons. The values are approximate and should not be taken to be 100% accurate. Second, more complex skills and weapons cannot be calculated accurately by the General Calculator. Examples would be the Skyward Pride's special bonus, or skills that include damage from multiple elemental sources such as Razor's Burst skill, which is both physical and electro. We would need dedicated spreadsheets for each character, much like what I did for Noelle, in order to achieve more character-specific accuracy. And unfortunately, I just don't have the time nor the character knowledge to do this at the moment. I will probably add a Razor-specific calculator in the future though, because he's my other main, I've played him since day 1, and I know Razor pretty well. Next, I didn't include the option for elemental reactions like melt or vaporize yet, because frankly I was strapped for time. I'll add them in sometime down the road, just check the description for updates to the spreadsheet. Lastly, and this is more of a disclaimer than anything, all the calculations are based on formulas that are to the best of my knowledge at the moment. I will of course update the calculator if anything changes in future game updates, or if I happen to learn more about the damage calculations themselves. And that's basically a wrap folks. Once again, the link to the calculator is in the description below. If you are watching this at a much later date, there may be updates to the spreadsheet. I will also update the description and the link where necessary. As always, if you found this useful, give this video a thumbs up. If you didn't, thumbs down works too. Share my videos with your friends and hit that subscribe button for more Genshin content. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care guys.